From the spreads to the lines, who's up, who's down? We're crunching the numbers, calling the plays, talking all sports in a big-time way. Yeah, yeah. Spreadsheet Sports, let's ride.
Welcome back to Spreadsheet Sports. It is February 22nd, and we have 132 games. Obviously, I'm not going to run all of those down, but before we get started and jump into the show, because I think I got a really good one for you, I want to thank everybody for coming back to the show. I definitely want to thank everybody that has liked, commented, shared, or subscribed. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Today's show is, like I said, it's 132 games. I've been at it since last night trying to find some games. The first half of the games, like this afternoon until right now, because I'm just now taping. At 3:50 right now, I'm taping, so I'm gonna give you a rundown of some games I like from here until the end of the night. Um, man, we getting close to March Madness. We are getting close to March Madness, and it's heating up. It's heating up. I love it. I love it. The competition is at an all-time high right now. Some of the people you think are gonna win and not winning, some of the people that you think are gonna lose are not losing. We got a lot of dogs right now. Man, it's a great time right now to be watching college basketball. But anyway, like I said, I got some games I want us to look at. We're going to definitely look at some games for entertainment value and money lines. We're going to look at some entertainment value / games with the spreads. And then we're going to go into the dogs. Normally, I only have 2 dogs, but I got 4 today that I'm just like, I want to see what happens with these particular games. So let's dive right in and have some fun, but sit back, get you a nice cold beverage, and take some notes and enjoy. But don't forget to get in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you would do. Again, it's not a betting channel, but for the sake of observation, we do look at the odds, and we look at the math, and we look at different ways to look at the games. And if you're in that world of betting, then we're giving you some insight so that you can see what are some different angles. But let's dive into it, and hope you guys enjoy the show. With the games that we have that are like having some type of entertainment value / money lines, I mean, we'll start here at this 4 o'clock game. It'll already be playing by the time this actually posts. But you got 2 games here at 4 o'clock, the Portland State and the SMU game. I think they're going to have entertainment value. I think that Portland State, SMU, um, Eastern Michigan, Lamar, Radford, Cal State, Northridge, Texas State, Nevada, Elon, and Montana State all come out with W's today. I could tell you how I know, and then I'm gonna basically show you 2 games of how I look at a money line game, right? To determine the entertainment value, because this is a lot of times dictated by the books. The books are telling the marketplace, right? We think it's going to be this, and I gotta believe that the coaches or somebody is looking at this data like, yeah, well, it's let's give them a game. And then sometimes it's the data that drives the books to establish the odds that they have as well. But neither here nor there. These are the people I think are going to win. When you look at the 2 games that I have out here, then you'll see why I think they're going to win. But I mean, even at face value, when you look at this list, I mean, Portland is performing very well in all of its categories. They also are coming into this with a winning season. They also are coming in this with a better season than their opponent. SMU, they don't have a better record than their opponent, but it's right there. But at the same time, they're doing well in all the categories. They have some injuries that might be an issue. But we'll see. That's the ACC. It's a tough conference. Eastern Michigan, again, doing well in all their categories. They come in with a tied season, but they're still with a better record than their opponent. That's at 430. No injuries on the table for them. When you look at Lamar, winning season, better than their opponent, doing well in all the categories. Hard to argue with them in that aspect. The Radford game, Radford is not only coming in with a winning season, and also they are doing better than their opponent, but they also are better than their conference opponent, right? So they have that edge as well. So that's going to definitely probably be a slam dunk. Cal State, Northridge, same thing. Um, Doing well in all categories. Winning season coming in, better record than their opponent opponent for competition. Injuries are not a problem. I definitely see them pulling it out. Same thing with Texas State and Nevada, except they don't have a winning. They Texas State is tied, right? Nevada is winning, but they are not better than their opponents, right? And then obviously you have Elon and Montana State, tight nail biter games, but it's going to be a really good game to watch. But this is what I think. I mean, all of this is also, as you'll see, as I break down these two games of Moneyline and Entertainment Value, you will see how I'm doing my selections in regards to who I think is going to do what. And I'm looking at everything from performance of each category: 3 pointers, 3 point attempts, assists, rebounds, defensive points allowed, regular points, all of those things in consideration. And then I go even deeper where I'm like, okay, that's the math part of it. Like, can they compete? Okay, great. But then where's the edge? The edge is going to be in the role of the classmen, right? Like, do you have more seniors and juniors than you do freshmen and sophomore? Is there a nice blend? Those things matter. What's the coaching like, right? On top of that, how are you winning on the road versus winning at home? And then there's how have you been winning or losing in the last 3 to 5 games? Like, all of that matters. But you'll see that in the next slide and how I break everything down in regards to looking at a game. But let's drive right into that. When you look at Eastern Michigan versus Northern Illinois, I would have to go with Eastern Michigan. That's from a money line perspective, right? Only because they're doing much better than their opponent in the categories, except for defensive points allowed. But it's kind of the same. So it's going to kind of be like a stalemate between both of them. But Eastern Michigan is just doing better in all categories, except for the conference ranking. Northern Illinois has a better conference ranking, but here's where it gets interesting. Even though the math and the data says that the Eastern Michigan is going to win, let's check that win-loss ratio, right? You see that they are at 36%. Do you want to go with the team that is losing on the road? Now, they won like 67% of the last 3 games, which is better than Northern Illinois. So they're coming in with a winning streak where Northern Illinois has been losing, right? And then Northern Illinois is doing bad when they're at home. Do I want to go that route? And not to mention, Eastern Michigan has a better class. Like, they literally have more seniors and juniors than Northern Illinois. And for that reason, I'm going with the seniority and the experience factor for Eastern Michigan to win. Again, this game is at 4:30 here in about 30 minutes. So the game will be going on while you're watching it. But that's what I'm thinking about that game. Would I go with the money line if I'm in the betting world? Obviously not. It's negative 218. It's not paying enough money. If I take anything, I take the spread. And the spread is at negative 4.5. Again, it's not a betting channel. I'm not telling you that that's what you should choose, but that's what I would choose if I were to bet on this game. Um, South Alabama, Texas State, another interesting one. Um, Again, let's start at all the categories. When it comes to categories, Texas State is your team, right? When it comes to injuries, Texas State is your team. They don't have as many injuries as South Alabama, but South Alabama has this Julian Margrave. And the thing is he don't really put any points together anyway, so it's not really like a loss not to have him. Miles and Tylon Pope, they're going to be your scorers in this game. So I don't see that being a problem because both of them are a guard and a forward putting up 14 to 16 points. As long as they can do what they do and they pass the ball around like they already are doing, At Texas State, I think that they win. But when you dig a little bit deeper, Texas State, obviously, as you see, they win very well when they're home, better than Southern Alabama does on the road. That's number one why I wouldn't take them. Even though Southern Alabama has a better record coming into this game, they have 19 games that they won versus Texas State having 14 and 14. But at the same time, Texas State has actually won 67% of their last three games, and 92% of their team, their roster, are seniors. Where at the same time, Southern Alabama has nice representation of experience and senior leadership as well. They have 91% of their team is leaders and seniors as well. So, with all that being said, and the math saying what it says, like literally, it makes it hard to go against Texas State. I think it's a highly competitive game because they're almost that close to each other. Because this is basically two number 12 teams, except they're from different conferences, one from the SWAC, one from the Sun Belt, right? Um, but we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be competitive, but I think Texas State ultimately comes out in the end just because of their senior leadership, their coaching, their win record on the road. I mean, win record in the last three and their win at home. I think because of those things all together, Texas State is your team for this game. Moving into the spread bets, I'm gonna just show you this. This is what I got. I mean, obviously, you see how I do my selections. Just remember, I'm using how I look into the next couple of games. I'm gonna show you for spreads. I got two games I want to pull out for you for spreads. But when you look at how I look at those games, understand why this list is what it is. But let's run down this list. I got Portland State covering the spread, -2.5. That's decent money, -106 if you're into that. SMU, I got covering the spread, +1.5. I think they definitely might have an upset here. Eastern Michigan for -4.5. I have Lamar for -1.5. I have Southeast Missouri State for -9.5. I know that's a tall glass of water, but I think they can pull it off. They're just more dominant in this particular game. Cal State Northridge, I like them for -3.5. They'll definitely probably cover the spread. Texas State -1.5. I like Bradley for -6.5. Another tall glass of water, but I think that they'll achieve it because they're just really, really dominant coming into this game. Nevada, I like for +1.5. I think they're going to scrap and they're going to come back and it's going to be a kind of a dogfight. But I think that they're being overlooked. They have a winning record coming in this game, and they're home. They do well in most categories. And on top of that, they got a better conference ranking. The only thing I think that's going to be the biggest problem for Nevada is going to be the injuries, right? They got two people out that are some interesting injuries. So without them, and even with that being said, I don't think that there'll be game time decision for them. But I do think that they're going to scrap and they're going to come back and at least either win by a one on a buzzer beater, um, or they lose by maybe 2 or 3 points. But I don't think that they're going to get blown out. Elon, -3.5 on the spread. I like them for that. They're coming in with a winning record. On top of that, no injuries. They do good enough in all the categories, but they're not dominant in the categories. But I think that they can definitely beat their competitor here at 7 o'clock. Northern Colorado, I like for -8.5. I like UC Irvine for -6.5. I like Montana State, another dogfight, but they'll probably be able to squeak out -1.5. And I like UC Irvine for -6.5. UC Irvine, they got the tall glass of water, but they also have a winning record. They got a better record than their opponent. I think they're coming in highly dominant for all the categories. It's the Big West, highly competitive, but with no injuries. And on top of that, like the math saying they probably gonna get about 80 points. I think that them getting 80, they probably get 80 or more, and they'll cover that spread at -6.5. So these are the ones that I think are going to have like really good game value. You're going to enjoy what you watch when you sit down to watch any of these games. But at the same time, this is what I think is going to possibly happen. I could be completely wrong, and that's fine. I feel free to get in the comment section. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where you disagree. I'm more than open to that particular commentary because obviously I learned from you telling me where I'm wrong and you giving me some ideas or some different ways to think. But this is what I see for today. I mean, again, 138 games. Without the help of technology, I don't see where I'm able to sift through all of these and really find what might be some gems. I've digitized my brain and my thought process so that when I'm selecting, I'm able to use it objectively and not get caught up in that moment of, yeah, I think, or maybe. I'm not dealing with maybes. I'm not dealing with I think. I'm dealing with what the data says. The data says they have a better team, they have a better team. If the data says they have a winning record, they got a winning record. If the data says that they win better on the road or at home, that's the data. I don't argue with the data. I'm just taking the data as advice. Now, with that being said, you have to take into account those that watch the strategy of the game, right? They watch the substance of the game, and you have to appreciate them, right? And that's my biggest challenge in this industry is I accept their profession. I accept their skill set to watch the game. What really pisses me off a lot of times is when I encounter somebody that like disregards the data. And I don't know why they do that, but they do it. I don't know whether it's a knee jerk reaction because they have their own challenges with technology, or I'm waiting on the argument where it doesn't work because I have a pretty good win ratio just from data. Now, even beyond data, there's where I will come in and I will implement my oversight and say, yeah, the data says this, but I think this is going to happen. But without the data, I can't have a nice subset to make those executive overrides. You get it? Like it's a marriage between the two, and it's an amazing thing when the two things can be together. So, if you guys aren't a data person, you're not into like data on spreadsheets or whatever, fine. Tell me some strategy that you like in the game. Like, help us all. Like, don't be the person that's like, oh, data doesn't work and the computers are horrible and computers are stupid. Don't be that person. It's just not a good position to have. Don't die on that hill. Um, it all can coexist and we can all benefit from working together and having and sharing those particular perspectives. But anyway, I'm off my soapbox with that. But this is what I think is going to happen with the spread games. And like I said, I got two games I'm going to pull out for you guys that we're going to look at for the spreads. And yeah, let's see what they look like. Now, diving into these two games, like I said, for the spread component, here's why I think that they're going to get the spread. Okay, like look at the Lamar game. Let's just go through every category, right? Like literally, let's start at the beginning. Starting at the beginning, who is the better team just off of like the data? Production, right? Like production in every category. Who's the winner? Lamar, okay, they got the better record. They got a winning record. They are knocking it out of the park and beating their component in each one of the different each one of the different categories. Offensive points, defensive points allowed, rebounds, 3 points, assists, 3 point percentage, field goal percentage, field goal attempt. What aren't they doing right? What aren't they doing right? Right? But that still doesn't. That doesn't. That's not, the jury's still out because they might be doing everything right, but how are they winning? Well, on the road, they win 53% of their games, not 100. There's some room for error there, right? Because that means that they are losing 47%. This might be a loss today. Okay, well, let's just dig a little bit deeper. Of the last three games, how many have they won? All of them. So they won all of the last three games. They win 53% of the games when they're on the road. And they are a highly dominant team for the categories. And then how are they stacking up when it comes to experience? Do they got a lot of seniors and juniors? Yeah, 85% of their roster is seniors and juniors versus Houston, that has 73% that are seniors. So both of them are going to come into this game with the system down pat, right? These aren't rookies. These aren't freshmen coming in or true redshirt freshmen coming. These aren't those. These are seniors that have been running the same system. They're in sync. There's cohesiveness there on both sides of the ball. It's just that Houston is struggling with winning at home, and Houston is struggling with winning in the last three games. So with that reality, I got to go with Lamar. Now, I also go with Lamar for the win, and they paying negative 120. That's not bad if you're in the betting world. And negative 108 on the spread. You can kind of go with either one of them. And the spread is only negative 1.5. Like, you don't think that Lamar, being as dominant as they are, can come in and get 1.5 more points? They're not gonna blow them out by 20, but they can win and win over negative 1.5, right? It's a 54% chance that they're going to win the game anyway. And I think that if you're in the points, if they have a bet for 70 points or more, take it. They're probably going to get 70 to 80 points in this game. All right, let's move to the next one. Because I'm looking for my blind spots. Like, what am I not seeing? Why wouldn't this be a good avenue to go? Entertainment value, Lamar, Houston, man, it's going to be an amazing game. Entertainment value for Boise State and Nevada, I think it's going to be the same thing. Because here's what we're looking at. Boise State, where are they at with categories? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Seven categories that they win between the injuries as well as with the different categories of points, rebounds, assists, all of that, right? That's what they got. Nevada, let's start with injuries. They got two guys that are out. One of them is a contributor. That guard was bringing 3 points to the game, so that's not really a big deal. Losing that 3 points is nothing because you got a forward that's giving you 16. This Nick Davison, right? And you got Tyson that's on the other side of the team on the Boise State that's giving you 18. They have a forward that's out for Boise State, but he wasn't giving any points anyway, since he's probably been out for the whole season. So that's not a big deal. So injuries really aren't a problem. Okay. So let's go back to the categories. I think Boise State is doing well and they're doing better in all the categories, but it's kind of like a tie that's like right there. This game could go either way. It could go either way. I think that the deciding factor is going to come down to, well, how are they winning on the road and at home? Nevada wins better at home than Boise State does on the road. Clearly, 71% of their games at home, they win, versus Boise State on the road only winning 46%. Why would I go with Boise State just off of that? How were they in the last three games? Both of them have won 67% of their last three games. Okay, so both of them are on the side on a slightly on a streak. Okay, how are they with leadership? Nevada has better leadership. 54% of Boise State are seniors and juniors. I think that's going to be the difference maker, is going to be that Nevada has more leadership and senior leadership, and they win better at home, and they won out of the last three games. They're slightly on the streak, and they do well enough in the categories. It's just the points that I'm worried about for like defensive points allowed and points given that Nevada might get into some trouble. But mathematically, it's probably looking at 70 plus points for Nevada. And on top of that, like for the spread, it's only plus 1.5. So I'll take the plus 1.5 on that spread. They may have changed it already. The odds may have changed because the odds are always moving. But I think the odds on this particular game, if you can get it for plus 1.5, if it's not going, I would take it if I'm you. Obviously, I'm not telling you to take it, but I'm just saying, if I were to look at an option or a play to make, that's what I would go with, plus 1.5, if it's still there. It may not be there because the books had both of them at plus 1.5 on the spread, but then they changed it and they literally moved it back to they probably one of them is now probably favored, but that's what I'm looking at right now. So here we go with the dog. Here we are with the dogs. Like, these are the games that entertainment value, you think it's going to go one way, but it's possibly going to go another way. We're going to look at all four of these games in detail. I think these have the value. One of them is going on right now, the Delaware State game, and that's the MEAC, right? They're coming in with winning most of the categories. They have a winning record, but it's not a better record than their opponent. So I think that people are doubting them and ruling them out. But I do think that they have a open window. We'll dive in a little bit deeper as I go through the game. Cal Poly State, San Luis, another one doing great with the categories. They have a losing record though, right? And they don't have a better record than their team than the person they're competing against. I think they're going to get about 80 plus points, and for that, I think they can cover the spread of 1.5. Same thing with Delaware State. I think that they can definitely cover the plus 4.5 spread. And as you see, they're paying really good for either one. BYU, ooh, oh, I can't wait to dive into that one with you guys. But I think that BYU may be able to claw their way out of this. Coming in with the 18-8 record, man. Big 12, no injuries, plus 7.5. You think BYU is going to get beat by 7.5 points? We about to find out. And then there's UNLV. I think UNLV again, winning record coming in and not doing this well in the categories. They are at home. Um, and even going back to BYU, they're on the roads. Just take that into consideration. We're going to dive into that a little bit more, but just take that into consideration as well. And then there's again UNLV. I think that they're going to have a interesting game, and the entertainment value is definitely going to be there. And plus 2.5 on the spread. I think they can cover that. But let's dive into these 4 games and really look at what we might be looking at today. So here are 2 of the 4 games we want to look at. These are the dogs. Okay. Delaware State, South Carolina State. This is the MEAC. Again, this game is already going on while you're watching right now. You might want to try to find this somewhere online. I'm not sure if it's going to be on national, but it's definitely somewhere online. You might want to tune in for this game if you can find it. No injuries on the table. At face value, South Carolina State is the more dominant. But the problem that South Carolina State has is that they suck at winning on the road. Whereas Delaware State winning 80% of their games at home. You can't look away from that. In the last 3 games, though, South Carolina State's coming in with a little streak, and they won all their last 3 games, where Delaware State has only won 67% of their games of the last 3 games, right? Leadership, Delaware State has better leadership. They have 55% are upperclassmen. They're running the system. They have the cohesiveness. Remember, there's no injuries already on here. The science, the math says that it's South Carolina State. I don't know. I want to choose Delaware State to at least cover the spread, the plus 4.5. I think it's going to be like a game determined by like a buzzer beater, or at the end, it might be like 1 point difference between whoever wins. But if you go with plus 4.5 and it comes down to just 1 point difference between whoever wins or loses, Delaware State spread of 4.5 is probably your best play. It's just too risky for me to go with the South Carolina State negative 4.5. I like it, but at the same time, running down all of those different intangibles like winning at home, the class and the leadership, winning the last 3, coming in with that, it's a tough one. But I would go with Delaware State plus 4.5 if I'm going with that bet. UC Riverside, Cal Poly, West Conference, Big West Conference. Man, Cal Poly is probably the more dominant team. They have more of the categories covered, right? But you peel back the layer of that onion, and literally Cal State, Cal Poly, they only win half of their games at home. That's not good. But in this case, it's better than UC Riverside, which sucks on the road. I think that's an advantage for Cal Poly. Cal Poly also has lost a lot, or at least most of the last 3 games. They only won one of the 3. They won in 3 on the last 3. versus that UC Riverside is 2-3. So UC Riverside has more of a streak coming in this game. Leadership, 77% of Cal Poly are seniors and they playing at home. Whew, man, this is a tough game to pick right here. But if I got to go with anything on this one, I'm going with Cal Poly plus 1.5. Even though the data tells me that I should be choosing UC Riverside to cover the spread, -1.5. I just like the fact that Cal Poly is winning better at home versus UC Riverside on the road. And I like that they have more senior leadership. I don't like the fact that they are 1-3 of the last three games. That scares me. But I think that that also may mean that they are in desperate need of a win. And I think the senior class knows that. And I know that they all know that we're getting close to March. So for those reasons, that's why I go with Cal Poly to cover the plus spread. I mean, even when you look at the players lineup, I mean, Barrington and Owen, I mean, both of them are coming in with a nice contribution, 17 to 20 points for a contribution. If both of them have a good game, which they probably will because these are their breadwinners, then I think we see the game that we think we're going to see. It's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be a dogfight, but I think we're going to really enjoy it. And for our last two games, one of my friends wanted me to look at the BYU and Arizona game, and I'm glad I did. Um, I'm all in with this game. I am all in with this game. I am jumping off of the ledge, and I'm going with BYU for the plus 7.5. I even think BYU is going to win the game, but I don't think Arizona's going to go away quietly. Here's why. Let's dive into it. When you look at domination of categories, BYU is your team. But let's peel the layer of that onion back, right? When you peel the layer of that onion back, now we're looking at where Arizona wins on the at home much better than BYU. And most people are going to stay away from this game just for that reason alone. They're not even going to dig any deeper. But then you got to go to the last three games. Like how the hell has both teams been performing? Well, BYU has won all of their last three games, whereas Arizona's won one of the three, 1-3 on the last three. Do you go with that? Like, how confident are you with a team that's 1-3 of the last three games, but they win at home and they desperately need a win? Mm. But even though they desperately need a win, can they beat BYU by 7, by 8? I think if they win, they're not going to have that type of performance. So that's why I got to lean on the plus 7.5 for the spread for BYU. I just have to. And if I'm going to take that, I might as well. I mean, the plus spread, I love that bet for any type of game because those are the games where you can be like, it's like an insurance policy because even if my team loses that I chose, as long as they cover the plus spread, then you still win. Negative spreads, it just seems like you kind of locked in where it's like you only choosing the negative spread because they're not paying enough for the money line. And you're just choosing the negative spread because you want to get something out of the game. Don't force it. Do not try to put a square peg through a round hole. If you don't like it, don't like it. Don't do nothing with it. They play every day. Choose another game tomorrow. Just that simple. But that's what that game. I mean, you still got, like I said, your players right here. You got Richie and you got Caleb. Both of them are 16, 15 points in contribution. A forward and a guard. Turnovers aren't really an issue. Caleb gets turns the ball over a little bit more than Richie. Maybe that's a positive, but the center is out as well for Arizona. So you got a center that's out, contributes 8 points. I'd be scared of that because with college basketball, they don't have a deep bench. And for that reason, that injury right there might be the linchpin for me where I'm like, you know what? I'm going with BYU to cover the plus 7.5 because of the lack of not having a center and having to play with the backup or either change their whole strategy because they don't have that center in. So I'm going with BYU for the plus 7.5 on that. The last game I'm looking at is Colorado State and UNLV. Okay, 10 o'clock tonight. Lights are going to be on and they're going to be bright. And when you look at this game, Colorado State screams out, right? Overly dominant. Overly dominant. Colorado State. I get it. How are they winning on the road versus at home? Well, Colorado State is only winning 42% of their games on the road. UNLV has won 71% of their games at home. I'd say UNLV has home court advantage, right? Would you agree? With that being said, let's dig a little bit a little bit deeper. A little bit deeper, and now we know that Colorado State has won two of the last three, whereas UNLV has won three of their last three games. And if you want to dig even deeper, then let's look at the class status, senior leadership. UNLV has more juniors and seniors, which means they have cohesiveness, whereas Colorado State's coming in with not young team, but semi-young, and maybe the glue is there. We don't know that yet until we watch them play. But when you take a little bit more of a look, right, I think that UNLV's injuries are going to be a super problem because Mr. Thomas, he's accounting for 16 points and he's a guard. It might be a game time decision and he actually might play. Kyle Jensen, hope I didn't butcher his name, but he's a forward that gives up 5 points. That's not as significant as Mr. Thomas here. Their big players are Nick Clifford and Mr. Thomas. And with Mr. Thomas being out and it possibly being a game time decision, if they get him back, then UNLV can definitely pull off the plus 2.5. If Mr. Thomas does not play, then all bets are off. I can't go with UNLV if he doesn't sign up, and I might put something on this game, but if I do, it'll be like an hour before the game starts. It'll be about 9:30, 9:45, waiting to push the button because I gotta see if he's gonna play. If he don't play, it's a wrap. But if he does play, UNLV has a really good chance of not only staying competitive but also winning this game. But even in his absence, with him being the leading scorer, I think the rest of the team's cohesiveness and their senior leadership, I think that UNLV has a real chance to just be that dog, fight in this game, stay competitive, take advantage of any of the mistakes of Colorado State, and they can win. I could be completely wrong, and I'm cool with that, but I think that that's what we might see with these games. But um, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to be a great game. So that brings us to the end of this broadcast. Um, I so look forward to today. Today is going to be an amazing day for NCAA basketball. I can't wait to finish putting this show together for you guys. That's going to break down the conference rankings. And I'm going to break the conference rankings down in two different ways. I'm going to have the non-invited group for the tournament. I'm going to have the group for the tournament, and I'm going to do CIAA. And then literally we can look at all three of those as they going into this, right? The possibilities of those going into those games. And I think that we'll all be better off to be able to see the game in that way. But I don't know. I think the day is going to be amazing. Tomorrow's going to be another great day of NCAA basketball. Um, I just think we had an all-time high for entertainment value. And those that are in the betting world, man, today is an amazing day for you. You got all types of options to make a play and try to make a couple coins. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you guys again for watching the show, participating in the show. If you found value in it, please remember to like, comment, share, or subscribe. And for those that have, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy the games, and I will see you on tomorrow.
Let's break it all down. From the spreads to the lines, who's up, who's down.